Hey everybody, welcome back. So this is going to be the second take when we're looking at depth of field and kind of breaking down the components to help you kind of narrow down and really kind of take advantage of the shallow depth of field. When I was first getting into photography, I was always under the perception that 500 f4, 600 f4, 400 2.8, they were necessary in order to get that shallow depth of field. And one day I was out shooting with a good friend of mine, like I said, many years ago, and he had a 500 f4, and he was talking about how he shoots everything at f8. I was kind of like, what do you mean you shoot everything at f8? I thought you had the f4 for that shallow depth of field. And then it's like, it got me realizing that the shallow depth of field uh, is not just about having that f4. That can be used for sure. The f4s really are about allowing you to get more light on low light conditions. And that's where they really excel over one of these 5.6, 6.3 zooms. But when it comes to depth of field, it's a bunch of these 5 other factors that come into play: lens length, aperture, proximity to your subject, proximity of your subject to the background, and then sensor size. And so those 5 things, how they all interact more to determine your depth of field than aperture does when you're talking about wildlife photography with long lens. If you're shooting with a wide angle lens or a mid-length lens for portraiture, obviously aperture is going to be your big determining factors when it comes to your depth of field. But with wildlife with longer lenses, with 500mm lenses and the like, the aperture can only do so much. You're still going to be dealing with whether you have a centimeter in focus or 3 or 4 centimeters in focus. Aperture plays a much smaller part in it. So today we're going to look at one of the single biggest thing to improve your photography for helping you to isolate your subject and really kind of get that pro-like look to your images. And it's about getting close. And it's about kind of figuring out how you can get as close to your subject as possible. The closer you get, the smaller your depth of field is going to be. And that's what's really going to help to pull your subject out of the background. So what can we find today? We've got gulls on a log. I think it's probably going to be our easiest subject where they're not going to be moving too much. So let's try and make a move on those guys. So right now, you can see the gulls on the log out here. You can see they're quite a ways away from us, right? So they're probably, I don't know, 40 or 50 feet from us right now. So let's try and we'll take some shots at this range. And we're gonna do everything at 500mm now. So we kind of, like I say, this is for birds, 500mm is gonna be what I'm gonna be doing. So we're gonna focus on the first gull. Okay. So we're gonna focus on the gull in the front here. So we'll move 10 feet further forward here. Hopefully these guys are gonna play with us today. So you notice how immediately the background starts to get blurred out a little bit. Okay, let's try and see if they play with us a bit more. So we're gonna. So as I said, as we get closer, the background gets blurred out better and it really starts to isolate it. So let's try and get a little closer here. Not sure how much closer they're gonna let us get, but let's have a look. It's get you a really nice shot with all the water glistening off them. Okay, so you can see them there. Still quite a ways away. We're now probably about 30 feet away. Okay, let's try to get a little bit closer. So you can see them on the log right here. Gives you an idea of the distance we're talking about. So hopefully I'm not totally in the dark here. Let's see if I can, there we go, okay. So one of the real tricks too when you're trying to get closer is taking a low profile. It's, especially if you're shooting shorebirds, ducks can be a little funny about it. Obviously they get hunted, but shorebirds, these gulls are good right now. They're kind of a nice subject, but by getting low to the ground, you're less of a threat to them, especially if you lay down and don't move. And it's kind of one of their tricks to getting an awesome shorebird photography. You can see I'm wearing the camo. Basically lay down on the beach, you become a log, and they'll walk right up to you, right past. And that's where you can really take advantage of the close focusing of these super zooms. Like I said, with an f4, 600 f4, you've got to be 4.5 meters away. With this lens, I can be 2 meters away. So that shorebird can be right up where I can get amazing headshots, beautiful bokeh, really separate the bird from the background. And that just, it's an awesome trick by just getting low. One of the nice things with shooting on a tripod as well, I'm not moving the camera. I'm not lifting it up. I'm not shaking it around. Everything kind of gets moved slowly and smoothly along the ground. Let's see if we can't get a little bit closer. Let's go. I'm not sure if he's going to give us another opportunity to move forward. We're about 30 feet now. So we've got some good examples where you'll be able to see the differing, the depth of field shallow up as I get closer. Okay, let's see if we can't get a little closer. He's definitely... Okay, I think that's about as close as we're going to be able to get here. This is one of the situations where there's a bit of a ripple on the water behind it. So the closer you are, the better you can get that ripple to be kind of go into bokeh. So you can also see them a little bit lower, and we're going to be talking about that in the next one as well. And that the next video we're going to be talking about angles and how to kind of take advantage of them. Okay. Okay, so there's some great examples. Like I said, nice, easy subject. One of the things with trying to do videos of like how-to videos for wildlife, the days you go out to shoot them, might not be anything around. So yeah, it might just be gulls, but this obviously will pan out to any of the other subjects. So yeah, so that's kind of a great example of how kind of getting close to your subject, you can just see how that depth of field really starts to narrow down. And also then the whole background goes from being, you'll see more of the background. Like I say, that's the problem. Depth of field, as much as this is the part that's in focus, it doesn't say where that hard line is for things that are being out of focus. So if you've got ripples in the water, you got branches, you got grasses, things like that, you're gonna see them a lot more. So the closer you get, the more that quickly just becomes that blur into that beautiful bokeh background. And that's kind of the ideal shot for many situations. Sometimes you want to have some environmental, sometimes you want to back off. That 200 mil zoom is great in some situations. You want to be able to back off. We've got that gull in the water. I'm gonna take a quick shot of him. Nice shot there. if you want to be a better photographer, you need to get out and shoot. And just because these are gulls, they're great test subjects. You know, you don't want to be waiting till you finally get on great gray owl trying to figure out your gear. And so these gulls are kind of, I learned so many of my photography skills on things like gulls and mallards and ducks at the duck pond. Just go and shoot your easy subjects. It just makes it so much, you just becomes more in tune with your gear, and you're not fumbling around with your settings. You know what settings you want to shoot. And that's something that I think is really important to kind of, you said, coming out to the estuary here, this is a great spot. Said not a ton of birds here today, but that's fine. I think we have some good subjects that we can kind of take a look at, and yeah. So that's it. Kind of, that just gives you a kind of a nice, easy video showing just the closer you get, the shallower depth of field, how it kind of plays out. The next one is going to be, the next video, we're going to be taking a look at the angles, and the angles of the beach, the angles to the bird, and it's going to be one of the more important ones to kind of, you know, once you've picked your lens length, you know, that's kind of that, you've got your lens. We've talked about that. We've talked about kind of getting close to the subject, but there's also the variable of angles, and the beach angles, the water angles, and all these, and that's the next video we're going to take a look at. If you got some good information out of this, please consider liking and subscribing, and stay tuned for the next video. Cheers. Till next time. See you out there.